Welcome to Soulful Latte podcast, a weekly conversation between two sisters to help us and our virtual friends online, like yourselves, grow in life and in faith. We're your hosts. I am Qudsiyah.
And I'm Samia.
And this is season 2.
Welcome to episode 6. This is a very special episode because we are probably entering the first week of Ramadan. While recording this, we should have entered it already, but you never know. This is how we Muslims work. Same debate every year. And so Qudsiyah, are you excited? This is like the Ramadan. How do you feel?
I'm feeling really excited, but at the same time, because we're recording this prior to Ramadan, it's just hitting me now that I could be talking about Ramadan, but I hope that we get to see Ramadan this year.
There's always like a little mysterious Twilight Zone thing. Well, inshallah, we will. We have hope that Allah is going to give us the life long enough so that we can experience another one.
Inshallah.
And benefit each other and everyone else, and most importantly ourselves, so that we can become better during this Ramadan and come out even better than before, inshallah.
Inshallah. So, let's speak about Ramadan. What is your personal top priority, top focus in Ramadan, Samia?
This is a good question because I remember growing up in a very cultural mindset. Ramadan was not, like, it was all about, oh, we're going to do samosas, we're going to do chaat, we're going to have this. Like, I love do jalebi, the milk and, this, I miss it so much. So it was one of those things that this is the time. And I understand that kind of gets us, riled up as kids and whatever, but I was old enough and I still felt that same way. So recently, in the past couple of years, I've begun to understand that Ramadan is about spirituality. As much as it can be about all the other things, most importantly, it is about getting closer to Allah. This is a gift that Allah has given to us this month. We're celebrating the revelation of the Quran, which is a life-changing thing for everyone who's listening to this, probably. And so this is a celebration of all of that. So spirituality is the topmost priority.
There's so much barakah in the month, isn't there?
All over the place.
Yeah, it's just so different in Ramadan. The heart is different, the days are different. And I remember Brother Muhammad Faris saying, from Productive Muslim, saying that, when you have something that you would like to start, like a good initiative, Ramadan is the best time because you can make the most of all of that barakah that's there and then take all of it. Because there's no month like Ramadan.
There really isn't, yeah.
Listening to that really, really made me think about all of the barakah, and whatever we do and start in Ramadan will have so much barakah going on through the year.
I think I've really missed out on this concept of barakah. It wasn't until I read The Productive Muslim that I began to understand, man, this is something that we have to actively take advantage of. Like, it's there for the taking, and we can either leave it or we can take benefit from it. And if Allah has given this extra gift to us, then why not take advantage of that?
Yeah, and in every aspect of our lives as well, not just limited to one thing. Just so beautiful.
Exactly. Actually, Sister Mona, I follow her on Instagram, A Journey of a Khalifa. She's about sustainability and everything.
Yes.
And she shared something. She was doing curtains. I don't know if you remember this, but she bought this linen tablecloth and she was converting it into curtains because she was like, I couldn't find it, so I'm going to make it. And she said she was going to make it in the morning hours because it has more barakah in it.
Yes.
And I was like, what? I never thought about that. Like, just doing simple tasks like this and making it an act of worship. This is just so incredible.
That reminds me of this night where it was Ramadan as well, and I was doing my infographics on Surah Ankabut. Basically, it was off of this article that had the tafsir and the lessons, and it's in 6 parts. So I remember finishing all 6 infographics in like 2 hours that Ramadan night. Wow. And that is huge because these things take a lot of time for me. From reading the material to summarizing to making the graphic. It's a big process for me. And for me to complete 6 parts in 2 hours, I was just blown away. And I firsthand experienced that barakah of Ramadan. It was done in the morning hours. It's just those two together is like, it's like a launching pad.
Power. Yes. Well, going back to the book, right? I forgot what scholar he mentioned in it, but he said that that person accomplished so much in a short amount of time in his life. Like some of these, scholars published hundreds of books and so many different things, and you're like, how is this possible? And then you understand that through barakah, Allah's barakah, so many things are possible, and you can make your life so much more meaningful. And that, thinking about it in Ramadan, I think it's just so encouraging. But do you think, because of all of this excitement that we get from Ramadan, and I know I've done this before, probably the previous Ramadan I did this, is, just making too many goals in the beginning and just saying, yeah, I'm going to do this, because you're feeling good at that time. But I think that's a big problem, isn't it?
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that as well. When you get to half of my Ramadan, then it just, you just burn out even, because you're in so much energy in the beginning, and then it starts to die down.
And I think there's also this idea about perfecting everything, that, I must do, I don't know, these prayers, and I must do it. And I think there's a lot of emphasis on perfecting that rather than really enjoying the spirituality boost that we get from this.
And also, if we slip, we fall out of things, which is natural. Sometimes we could go into, but, I didn't do it, so there's no point doing it. Like an all or nothing mindset. But yeah, this is something I've learned as well. It's okay if it doesn't happen, but just keep doing it. Just keep doing little bits. I want consistency to become part of my being, I just
lifelong
want
struggle.
that.
That's how I feel about it. Yes.
Just being consistent in just those little things.
For me, when I think of my Ramadan, right, I want to say that there is at least one thing that I can say that I have, really worked on and instilled in my personality and in my character. Even if I had 5 things on the list and I was not able to do them, but I could get one thing out of it, I think that is a successful Ramadan. Because I can remember going back in time where I got nothing out of it, So if there's only one thing, then I'm like, alhamdulillah, dude, I did good.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't feel bad about it. It's okay. Yeah, I mean, again, if I could get those 5 things, that would be amazing. If it doesn't happen, that it's not going to be like end of everything and I'm a horrible Muslim and I didn't get anything, really the gentleness that we talk about in this podcast so many times.
Yeah.
It is so important, especially this month, because we get that barrage of things from other people.
It's also about genuinely opening the heart to receive the barakah and the affection of Allah that is so abundant in this month. And I just love that Allah loves those actions that are consistent, even if they're small. I find that personally so encouraging, because it reminds me that you don't have to do big things, but I just want to do things that will genuinely open up my heart to receive more of Allah's love. Because Allah's love is there, right? Sometimes I'm the one who doesn't open up my own capacity and make space for that. I think it's the biggest opportunity to open the heart.
Well, when you talk about opening up your heart and making up space, what does that mean to you in terms of action? Like, what do you do for those things?
I think for everyone it's quite different. For me, it's very little things. Purposefully reading Quran. So even if I'm not able to complete everything, if I've just gained a little bit from a page, for me that softens my heart. Do you know what I mean? So for everyone it's very different things. What is it for you?
Yeah, when you're, I love what you said about small and consistent things. So I really like to focus on the sunnah things, small things like every time we drink water, we say Bismillah in the beginning, Alhamdulillah at the end. Getting those little habits part of your life. And if one of those habits can become your usual because of your Ramadan practice, I think that is something to be excited about. And so that would be it for me. And I actually grew up with that culture of finishing the Quran, and I think it's a beautiful thing to do. It really is, if you're able to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that should be our goal, but that shouldn't kind of hold us back. I had this one time where I was just beating myself up because I'm like, I can't finish this. Because, especially we're women, we have this week off or, a couple of days off that we get, that we're not able to do a lot of the things that other people are doing. And that extra pressure, I need to make up for those 7, 5, 10 days. that's unrealistic. Let's not bury ourselves in the grave because we have to finish this Quran. Like, there's so many other things we can do in addition to it. And if you are finishing it, alhamdulillah, I am so happy, and I hope I become, one of you one day.
Yes, that is amazing.
But I would not kill myself.
Can I ask you, do you plan for those days off?
I actually have done in the past. Just because I was reading some books as well, not only just, other things. I was like, I'm going to read this book. And this book was in English. There was nothing Arabic or things special, like Quranic Arabic about it. So I just made that reading part of it. And obviously you can do dhikr throughout the day. And so, yeah, I did make some plans for that. This year, I'm going to go a little bit easier because last Ramadan, I had a bit of a difficult due to my new health issues. So I know, especially during those days, I'm expecting my energy to be like the worst possible. And so I'm not really hitting myself too hard. So that's what I would like to say to everyone who's listening as well. Just really know your body, and if you can't do what you wanted to do, just do the minimum, like we've talked about. What is one thing that you said, I'm going to do this Ramadan? Make it simple, make it easy. Don't make it overwhelming, like I'm going to do Taraweeh, like all 20 rakats every night. It's okay if you do half of that, all right? Or if you can just do one of it, it's okay. And if you can read 3 ayahs of the Quran rather than all of the entire juz, that's okay too. That's what I learned from my previous Ramadan, is just be easy. Your body is probably going to betray you at some point, and that's okay.
It's different for everyone in the sense that all of us are experiencing different things and we're in different levels of life. I've had those Ramadans where I've started off on fire, and then by the last 10 nights, I'm just dragging on. And that's where you feel really guilty.
Well, let's think of it this way then. To do tasks throughout the month of Ramadan, but our goal is to make it in the last 10 days. But okay, I don't want to say don't do anything and just do everything in 10 days. But I want to say that, mentally prepare ourselves to say, you know what, I have to give my best. The last thing. I don't have to give my best the first time or the first 20 days, but the last days deserve my best. What do you think about that? Without going into that lazy mindset, I don't want to do that, but I want to prepare myself. Yeah, I want to say, you know what? I need to do the last 10 days. These are the most blessed days of the entire month.
I also feel like death is really coming to me right now, because I'm like, what if I don't make the last 10 nights?
I know, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't want to go into that mindset where I'm just like, oh yeah, I've got those 10 days to make my Ramadan. Those 10 days are not going to make my Ramadan. Those 10 days are going to be the reflection of what I've done in the beginning of the month, right? But I do want to give myself that, get away from that mindset of I want to do everything, and then I don't have anything to give the last 10 days, because I don't live a life which is, may Allah make me one of those, really. Make me a little better, even I'll be okay with that. But I don't live a life that is completely dedicated to spirituality every single minute. And that's what Ramadan, I'm so much better. And I cannot punish myself for that, And so if I am doing a little bit better, that's okay. But I just want to do the best in the last 10 days.
What I found really useful is when people encourage you to think about, so what was Ramadan like for you last year? Think about it. Have your situations changed? What worked? What didn't work? And how can you personally just make a conscious effort to do better this year with Allah? So it's you, your heart, and Allah. It's not about anyone else, and it's not about where they are, what they're doing, how they're approaching things. It's about, how can I make this a better Ramadan?
One thing that has really helped me with that is making a log. So I started doing that, I think it was 2 or maybe 3 years ago. In my Ramadan, I log it every week, what I did, what was the progress, and what I could do better. And then towards the end of Ramadan, I have, I also do like end of Ramadan reflection. So, actually post-Ramadan reflection, I call it. So what am I gonna, what was my Ramadan like? What was I really good at? What goals I made and did not accomplish? What were the reasons behind it? And then I look back at it. the following Ramadan, it is so useful because I'm like, oh yeah, that was awesome, you know? And so I recommend, if you haven't done that, to do it this Ramadan.
Yes, because it's so easy to forget what the month was like. It all becomes blurry. For me, it becomes very blurry when I look back and I think, oh, I don't know what happened. But if I write it down, always, it's such an insightful experience. I think last year or the year before, I was Ramadan journaling. That's what I used to call it. So every day, I would take some time out and write something about that day and how I felt. It's such a shame I wasn't consistent with that, because I would love to read that right now. You've inspired me to do that again.
Right?
So what is in your law? Do you have some intentions or like basic things that you want to do?
I know some people do write their intentions. I don't do that. I just keep it really minimal. I'm like, what did I do? I have I know what things I want to do every day. So those things are already written down, and I just reflect back on those. Was I able to do that? And one thing that you mentioned, how did you feel? I write that, because that is so important. How did I feel doing those things? And that has helped me to figure out, oh my God, I was kind of harsh on myself that time, or and just looking at, I made this goal, but this is such a high goal that I cannot achieve it. And those things really helped me figure that out.
That is so true, because I've done that as well. Like, I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, my goals were very, very big. But at that time, I didn't know they were too big. And they're like a general big goal.
Me too.
You know? But you can't achieve that unless you have certain things that you're doing every now and again towards that goal.
Kind of like, I'm going to be an awesome Muslim.
So, for example, there was one goal, I think. It said, be better at reciting the Quran. But I don't know what that means in tangible things. What does that mean? How am I going to be better? So it really helped to look at that and think, okay, I need to break those things down. And how can I be better? Where am I right now? And where do I want to be? Let's create some steps towards that.
I mean, if you just look at any productivity books like out there, people who are sharing, it's all about breaking down those goals and saying, this is how I can achieve this. And inshallah, if you can just keep up with that, and then you'll achieve it.
Inshallah. Inshallah, we're alive.
Hey, you know what? And if any of us are not, let's make dua for each other.
Yes.
I know we have a lot of listeners and followers and people that with DMs we talk with. And, if any one of us don't make it, let's make dua for them. And a lot has happened this year already. A lot of crazy stuff. And we have gone through quite traumatic events. And this is a time to make dua for them, because they didn't make it. They for sure didn't make it. So inshallah, they made it to a much better place. But they didn't make it to this Ramadan. We make dua for that for sure.
Inshallah. And that, Allah gives us the opportunity to just become better.
Ramadan is so special. This is a month where so many beautiful things happen, and we need to treat it like that. I really like what Christians who are practicing Christians do for Christmas. I love it. They recognize what the consumerist aspect has done to their faith. They recognize that. They're like, hey, we don't appreciate all of this. This is what, Christmas is really about. And they get down and together. Ramadan has become a little bit like, alhamdulillah, it's not that bad yet. I know, alhamdulillah. But it's getting there, where there's a lot about consumerism. It's about decor. It's about, inviting people for dinner. It's about, I don't know, it's about everything else, but what it really should be a lot of the times. Eid shopping, all those things. It becomes something that it's not supposed to be. So I want us to really get down and really treat it like a special month. Growing up in a Pakistani culture, they talked about Ramadan being like a guest in the house. And it was, very intense. That, really treating it as something that is so tangible, like, oh look, this is a guest in our house. And I like that mindset. This is coming and living with us, and let's treat them a little bit special. So Qudsiyah, can we talk a little bit about balance? We talk about balancing this month. So you have your business and you have your things going on, and then you have Ramadan coming up. So what would be some things to balance a life and Ramadan together?
So I think how I'm going to be approaching it is to think about what my day is like anyway, and what are the things that need to be done every day that are just fixed. And I think trying to inject spirituality everywhere else, revolve the day all around, say for example the Quran.
I love that.
Yeah, looking at where it would be good to put that. I think also just being mindful of Allah in my tasks. Some things we can't always help, but when you look at them with the lens of Allah in it, then they become that spiritual element.
I like what you said about having your routine, kind of like a daily thing that your life has to do every single day. And I think I really like that. Just looking at, you know what, I'm going to wake up at this time. And I know this already because I've been doing it for the past, I don't know how many months. And just making and turning it around. So I think a lot of the times we want to do better things. So I think one thing would be to, if you try to give up a habit, give up something, definitely find a replacement immediately, which is better. So that could be one way to just take your everyday that you do all the time anyway and just turn it around into something that is really beneficial. So definitely find little moments where you're like, oh, look, I was mindlessly doing something. Let me just take a breather and just thank Allah at this moment. Do some sort of a dhikr at this time that I know about. I know what it means. I know what it means to me. And just injecting that in there. I think those things throughout the day help to get that energy you need at nighttime. Just little things, and you're like, okay, look, barakah, 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 you know, more things. And you're like, okay, yeah, I think I can do a little extra worship tonight. And that is a beautiful thing.
As I'm getting older, I don't know why, I'm realizing more and more this concept of just doing better than yesterday. I just want to be a little bit closer, a little bit more connected, a little bit more mindful than I was yesterday.
But that's a positive mindset, because if you had a bad day yesterday, you were like, man, I really didn't do what I wanted to do because of X, Y, and Z. It's all right. You know what? I'm going to do that today. Yesterday, I wasn't able to do it, but today is my day. I'm going to own this. And if you can just do one thing, then alhamdulillah, that one thing is probably the most important thing at that time.
What I'm also getting in this episode is continually we're bringing up this opposition to all or nothing mindset. It's been coming up quite a bit. And just getting up and saying, okay, that's fine. Treating yourself with gentleness, saying, okay, inshallah, today is another day that Allah has gifted me. Let's do something about it. It's okay, because those things happen and we'll just carry on. You know, as I was researching habits, one of the things that Marie Forleo said was sometimes we're on a wagon. So when we fall off the wagon, oh, but you know, there's no point doing this because I'm now on the ground. But she said, if you decide to do that, you will be on the ground. So just get on the wagon and keep going because it's moving.
Yes.
And I thought, that's a funny way to look at it.
That's awesome. I hope that we carry all of these conversations throughout our Ramadan. It's not only about I didn't do well yesterday, I didn't do well the first week of Ramadan, I didn't do well the first 2 weeks of Ramadan. That's all right. Let's just keep going and just find what you need to get the motivation to do that extra little thing that will make a huge difference. So in closing this episode, I do want to say that we have just 2 more weeks left. So 2 more episodes left. We're not going to be able to do Ramadan episodes the entire time. And that's going to help me and you, Qudsiyah, to stay on track and don't get distracted and really get those last days as well as all the rest of the days, inshallah. And I do want to let you guys know we share articles or some sort of a video or something that is useful with every episode. You can find that on the website, and we talk about it on our Instagram for Soulful Latte podcast as well.
If there's anything that you're currently focusing on during the month of Ramadan, you know, join in the conversation and let us know, because we would love to be inspired by you and just grow together during this month.
So we can definitely have that conversation in the post for this episode, so we all can keep in track and encourage each other, because we need that encouragement. We're feeling really good. This is the first week. We're feeling great, but we'll talk again in 2 more weeks, and we're going to have to encourage each other. I know it, because we're going to be like, oh man, but that's okay. That's all right. That's what we're here for. We're here to grow together. We're not here to pass any judgment or whatever, because then y'all will be judging me more than anyone, because I'm like, oh, I didn't do anything. So yes, let's make it a welcoming space, and inshallah we'll continue our conversation over there.
If there's something that you've benefited from today, we'll be so grateful if you'd share it with someone you know. It would help us out a lot if you'd review it on your favorite app and also subscribe to the podcast. You can contact us at Soulful Latte Podcast on Instagram and write to us at soulfullattepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep growing.